Sunday, July 3rd, 2016. Maneko 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'll be covering a WebBot report for July today, or the ALTA report, which stands for Asymmetric Linguistic Trend Analysis. I'd like to first read a little bit from the introduction by Cliff High to these reports. And he says, predictive linguistics is the process of using computer software to aggregate vast amounts of written text from the internet by categories delineated by emotional contents of the words. Predictive linguistics use emotional qualifiers and quantifiers expressed as numeric values for each and all words, phrases discovered, filtered in the aggregation process. Over 80% of all the words gathered will be discarded for one or more reasons. And these words are gathered by the WebBot, or spiders as he calls them. And he also, this is the most important part in my opinion, of the description of this analysis. He says, and I quote, predictive linguistics works to predict future language about perhaps future events due to the nature of humans. It is my operating assumption that all humans are psychic, though the vast majority do nothing to cultivate it as a skill and are likely unaware of it within themselves. In spite of this, universe and human nature has it that they leak prescient information out continuously in their choice of language. My software processing collects these leaks and aggregates them against a model of a timeline, and that information is provided in this report. So yeah, I just want to clarify that I don't look at the WebBot report or the ALTA report as as a Bible or something that's gonna definitely happen, but perhaps might happen. It just gives me an idea of what the language in the internet is, and it does help. You have to, if you don't like this, you don't have to read it or listen to my summary. But if you do, and if you think it might help, make decisions with other information that you gather, so be it. So let's start right away. And I'm just going to focus on the markets entity because it's a long report. If I suggest people, if they're really interested, to buy it, it's on halfpasthuman.com, and it's $15 per report, and it's once a month. So anyway, basically, he's talking a lot about Bitcoin and silver in the markets entity. He's saying that Bitcoin is going to do very well indeed. We're going to see the price of Bitcoin over 1,000 by the end of after the end of July, or by the end of July. And he also sees Bitcoin moving up to 2,000 after July, but it could take up to 6 months. It's all because of the the data, because he's got immediacy data, short-term data, and long-term data. Immediacy is up to 4 weeks, short-term is up to 4 months, long-term is up to 19 months. So it's, his language is not very clear in terms of the 2,000. So he's saying it could be up to 6 months. It could be right after July, $2,000 Bitcoin. But he says there's new language coming, like insane valuations and hyper gambling in Bitcoin. And also language for Bitcoin is shifting towards language like golden and gold instead of silver. So Bitcoin becoming more associated with gold currency. Even, I'm not disparaging silver, but that's what the language is showing. And in terms of silver, language is showing that Chinese authorities will be encouraging and pushing the public to own silver. He says Chinese officialdom will be scared shitless, excuse my French, about the Chinese population being caught by surprise when global currencies collapse. So that's what he sees. The other important part about the market report, and I think is the most important one in terms of events, is that a new language is going to come out. A new term will come out, and it will be those 16 days in July of 2016. He says historians will write about these 16 days in the future, and it will be a very important temporal marker for the next 5 generations, or so 100 years plus. A bit like the great financial crisis of '08. People always talk about that. Oh, you remember when the great financial, this has been the worst since the great financial crisis. So these 16 days in July are going to be like a really important new language, and it will be like in the conscience of people for years to come. He doesn't know exactly when it's going to be in July, but it will be in July, and there will be market mayhem. And he says there's new sets of data showing the use of the word depression coming up for July and throughout the summer, and not only alternative media, but also mainstream media. And it's going to be called the Central Banksters Depression, according to him, and the language. And the other data set that's coming up, new one, is that there will be panic by the Federal Reserve banksters, as he calls them, or the Federal Reserve. And he says that there's data showing that these 16 days in July are going to mark the panic of the Federal Reserve, and that they're going to hyperinflate. Hyperinflation will be the consequence. I assume maybe they're going to start QE or even helicopter money, which is unsterilized QE. And unsterilized QE just means that they'll never buy back the securities to like drain the cash out of the system. That's what helicopter money is. And it says that the hyperinflation language will be focused on the Federal Reserve banksters, but the consequences will be global. And he also says that he's seeing language that hyperinflation will be a result of failure of confidence in the fiat masters. Not surprising. And data set for also the price rise in silver. He's got new data set for price rise in silver. There's words such as air gaps. And, the gaps in the price of silver will be huge, and that people will make fortunes from those gaps. That's new language for silver. And I'll finish with insurance industry and major banks. Basically, the immediacy data for the insurance industry, which is up, from 4 days after the report to about a month, is showing that there's going to be a wave of bankruptcy and defaults beginning this summer in the insurance industry because they can't cope with the new financial, background, especially negative interest rates. They can't invest their float. And also showing that major banks, including the top 20 global banks, will be rocked by failures for the rest of 2016. And at the end of my summary is to do with data showing that fiat dies and fiat money is dying, and the cryptocurrencies will rise, and especially Bitcoin. And he says even the smaller cryptocurrencies will evolve, but not right away, but in the coming years. And that the Chinese population will be the main driver of this. So his conclusion is that basically we're undergoing great transformation, and that the world will be turned upside down. And the term he uses is shock the monkey. Because he calls the powers that be, he calls them monkeys, or he says that they've got monkey minds, and it's going to shock them what's going to happen in terms of the markets and everything within society in coming this summer. And he says data sets are arguing for a pivotal point in future history to be unfolding before our eyes. So looks quite exciting, analysis and the language is showing some pretty radical and like shocking and pivotal events happening, this summer. And so yeah, that's the WebBot report. There's a lot more in that report, but I thought, most of my viewers would like to know what's going to happen in the markets. So yeah, basically Bitcoin, silver, gold will continue to do well according to the data, and that we're going to see, the central bankers panicking. We've seen that already here in England, where Mark Carney of the Bank of England has basically announced that he'll cut more or do more QE, and he said that's going to spread, and the Federal Reserve is going to get into the same panic mode. And the other main thing I got from this is that the Chinese authorities are going to encourage the populace there to get into cryptocurrencies, to get into silver and to gold, mainly to protect themselves from this fiat money implosion. So that's what I get from it. And if you enjoy this, please like, share, and subscribe. And check out Cliff High at halfpasthuman.com. Take care. Bye.